Welcome to Connecting You Today. My name is Rosa Lukaising, and I'm the blind connector for this show. Hello, everyone. My name is Rosa Lukaising, and I'm the blind connector for Connecting You Today. On this show, we will be blind connecting two incredible individuals, both business owners and professionals, and will be meeting for the very first time. They're matched based on their backgrounds, their goals, their visions, and what they've shared with me about how they want to grow their business. I'd like to introduce our first guest, Carol Bass. Carol has been a successful real estate agent with RE/MAX for over 30 years. However, today we'll be sharing about the love of her life, her passion, really. She's been a certified diver for over 45 years, and now she's already written her first book, Sharky, the Lonesome Sand Shark. I'd like to let Carol tell you more about her passion. Welcome, Carol. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Rose.
Carol, can you tell us a little bit more about your passion, the love of your life, as you call it?
Well, I've loved the ocean, or I've loved water since I was young, and I became a diver, and now in Patty, and met Jacques Cousteau, my idol, who's the inventor of the scuba tank, or self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, which is scuba. And the idea for my book series that it's now become was based on 20 years ago. I came up with the idea and never brought it to fruition. And then luckily I wrote about sharks as my first book, probably for the reason that they're so misunderstood. And of course I realized that children are the future, and if I can impress on them about preserving the ocean, they can in turn impress on their parents and their schools and their government to maybe make a change, because we're in desperate need of that. And so Sharky, the Lonesome Sand Shark, has received a lot of attention, and I'm hoping that it can either become a documentary or even a movie, because then I can get the message out about how desperately we need to pay attention to what's happening with our oceans.
That's so wonderful, Carol. I understand that you've already sold several of those books, and it's going quite well.
Yes, in fact, fortunately, my book is actually in the libraries in Florida.
Wow.
Even more so than in Canada.
That's amazing. How did you get it to Florida?
I have a place in Florida, and I was using the libraries there as a research area. And when I happened to mention to someone, and they mentioned to someone else, then I was approached that when I published, they wanted to carry the book. They felt it was very important. Like shepherds, or the sharks are the shepherds of the sea.
Right,
and it's sort of that ecosystem hierarchy, right down to corals and the plankton in the ocean, and that's where 70% of the oxygen in the world comes from, which I don't think people realize, as we as humans need oxygen to breathe. So that's another reason why we need to save the ocean from that, or even just all the plastic, which is a big item. And even I support 4Ocean, which is an organization that have boats that go out and are actually removing plastic from the ocean.
You looked at the jewelry there. Is someone making jewelry with
It's
some of the
it's
plastic?
an organization called For Ocean, and you can
Okay.
actually donate, and they send you something made from the plastic and the metal
Oh.
of For Ocean.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So tell me, I understand you're looking to write a series of books now that this one is going so well already.
Yes.
Is that right?
I have all the titles, and my second book is going to be All Hands the Octopus. And it's not until you start doing research that, as much as I thought I knew a lot about the ocean, that the research has shown me just how intelligent and how much we can learn from our oceans, not only just the mammals, but from the plants, and so many things that the ocean holds, so many secrets that we'll never know if we don't save it.
And I understand that one of your goals is to really reach the hearts of children so that children can actually start influencing their parents and their teachers and leaders. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your wish is around that and what you're hoping for?
Well, I feel that I think children nowadays are much even more so than we are. They actually are organizing events all over the world for different things where they are making people focus, and they're so much, maybe through the internet, they've become so much more aware that they have to realize they do have a voice. They may be one child, but because the oceans are, it's like environmental projects are big, and I know that people are aware of what's happening above the land, on the land, but they don't realize that it's almost like out of sight, out of mind, because you can't see below the ocean and see the damage being done. I think that takes away from people being aware of needing to address the issues. And of course, sharks, over 1 million to 1.5 million sharks are killed every year. And that is scary.
You have a lot of information to share with us, and I can tell you've been doing quite a bit of research. So this is so...
Well, it's exciting.
I love to see you so excited, because I could see why you're passionate about this, because it's really been filling your purpose.
Well, it's close to my heart.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Right now, we'll be going on a short break before we introduce our second guest. Welcome back. And now we have Blind Connection number 2. Her name is Kim Thompson-Pinder. Kim is an author and publisher with RTI Publishing. She has written over 50 books, including those for herself and her clients. Kim has done a done-for-you package just for you, because she wants you to be the author that you were meant to be. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you for having me on the show, Rosa.
I'm so excited to have you. The journey you've taken has been so exciting from what I've heard, so I'm really anxious to hear you share. Could you tell us a little bit more about this journey that you've embarked on in the last few years?
Sure. The quick story is, it started out at 7 years old being told that I should not write and I was not a good writer. And I carried those words with me for over 30 years.
Wow.
And every time an opportunity came, that thought, I'm not a good writer. But like in all things, I hit that crossroads in my life where I had to make the decision. And I came to realize I was no longer that 7-year-old little girl. And I decided to start writing. And since then, that was about 8 years ago, it progressed to becoming an author, then writing books for others. And now we have a full-fledged publishing company, and I have a full team that works with me as well. And we just really love helping professionals to become authors, to get their message out there. They have something that's so valuable to share with the world, and our job is to help them share it.
That's really, really exciting. I heard that you're also doing some workshops and seminars now to get groups together rather than the one-on-one.
Yeah, so we have 2 different things that we do. Like you said, we have the done for you package. So if you just want to have your book written and you don't have the time and you don't have the skills, we have a full team to support you. But there's also a lot of professionals out there who actually want to write their own books. So we've actually started doing 3-day workshops where we teach them from first concept to finished, printed, published book, and we teach them how to do everything in between.
That's really helpful because a lot of people are paying thousands of dollars to get their books written and published, right?
Yes.
So if you can do that in 3 days and help me, how long would it take me to, what's the minimum length of time I can get my book published, let's say?
That's a hard question to answer because it really depends on you and how much time you can devote to it. Realistically, if you could devote a few hours a week to the project and you know you're consistently working on it, you could probably have a book out in about 3 months.
No way.
Yep. Again, it depends on how much time you have to work on it.
Right.
On average,
yeah,
most
yeah.
people take 6 months to a year because they're writing a book on top of all their other jobs and responsibilities.
Exactly, right.
But if you had a lot of time to devote to it, 3 months is reasonable.
Well, that's phenomenal. So this workshop happens, what, twice a year, 3 times a year?
Actually, we're going to be holding it 3 to 4 times a year.
Wonderful. How are you finding your clients? Like, how do you fill your workshops? I mean, that must be very challenging.
Well,
Or probably easy because you probably know some good networks. Let me hear.
Well, when you talk about connecting, that's what I love to do. So I'm always out and about and I'm always making those connections and I'm finding out what it is that the person truly wants.
You're right. You know what? I've seen you connect at events. We've hung out at a couple of events this year, and I've seen the way you connect. That's wonderful, Kim. So what's happening for you right now in addition to the workshops? What's actually changing in your whole framework of this business?
Well, have you ever heard the saying, you know, the shoemaker's kids go barefoot? Well, I've been working on so many client projects, I actually have a series of 4 books myself I want to write.
Oh, okay.
So I have 2 of them that are in progress. And I'm going to be clearing my schedule for the summer so that I can actually get my books written. And the series is going to be called Author to Authority. And what it does is it's going to teach entrepreneurs how to position themselves by becoming an author, by becoming that expert, that go-to person that everybody wants to go to. So the first book talks about that in general and the steps you take and how do you become an author to a well-known expert that everybody wants. The second book is actually on how to write a book.
Okay.
So I have pieces of both books done, but...
And so there's just going to be 2 in this series?
No, there'll probably be 3 or 4.
Okay.
I haven't quite decided. I have lots of ideas for the other 2, and I think I'm going to throw a workbook or a journal or something in there as well. So
I have a feeling that would go off really well because I've been meeting a lot of wannabe authors in the last year or 2. Have you?
Yes.
You notice with the whole publishing business and with well-known publishers that's come into Toronto at least a couple of times a year, they're getting a lot of the people from the GTA really interested in writing their own book.
Well, there's a perception that when you become an author that you're the expert in that subject.
And it's true, isn't it? And I mean,
Not
perceived.
necessarily.
It's perceived. It
It's
may not be
perceived.
true, but it's perceived.
You know, like if you have, let's say 2 chiropractors. Well, both chiropractors both went to school. They both have the same degree. And yet a chiropractor who's an author who writes about it will be perceived more as an expert than maybe even someone who has 20, 30 years experience because they've got it down in print.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. So really, it's all about perception at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, you know what? I am so excited to hear more about this. We would be discussing this more when we meet your blind connection.
I'm excited.
It's great. So we will be going for a short break now, and we'll talk more about Kim's background and my first guest's background. Thank you. 'Thank you. 'We'll be right back. we're back and we have our two incredible women with us, our blind connections, Carol and Kim. So now I'd like to just reiterate some of the information with both of you so we make sure that you've heard a bit of background. And then I'm going to ask you a couple questions first, and then I will share my synergies that I have found, okay? My first question is, have either of you ever met or worked together before? Carol?
I've seen Kim and I ran into her, but we've never worked together.
Yeah, we were at common events together.
Yes.
So we recognized each other's faces.
Okay, that's wonderful. We know there's always an element of surprise, so this is the surprise. Great. So now we're going to talk about why I considered both of you working together, but not just yet. I want to ask you both the same question. Carol, what intrigued you about getting on this Connecting You show today?
Well, I would say, other than now being curious about my blind connection, I wanted to be able to expand, apart from writing my book series, which is like a legacy in itself. I wanted to be able to, the more excited I got about what the message was, because it wasn't so much about writing a book about promoting me, I found that there was a bigger cause, and it's a worldwide cause. And the more I can get it out there, whether it be by documentaries or doing speaking engagements or maybe being around environmental influencers regarding the ocean, like Sir Richard Branson or Leonardo DiCaprio, the foundations,
Wouldn't that be nice?
Things that are going to be able to help me to get the message out there. And that was part of being the more publicity you can get, where there's maybe somebody out there that would be able to help me to be able to expand on that.
Wonderful.
And
so listen up, folks. She's looking for you. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
And Kim, what about you? What intrigued you about being part of this show?
I love being connected to people.
I know that.
Rosa, you do know that from when I go to events. I love meeting new people, and when you approached me with this idea of being blind connected to somebody, I thought, wow, I love that idea, and I was intrigued about who you were going to connect me with. So I'm just loving this. It's great.
That's fantastic, Kim. Thanks for sharing that. So I'd like you to tell me what's happening next. What have you got plans in place for your business next? You know, have you got something going already? Have you want to get somebody as a film director, probably for a documentary? What is your next step?
I guess one of my issues was animators to work on my books, which I was fortunate that I was introduced to a gentleman who was an animator for Disney, and he's wanting to be able to take an excerpt from my book and make it into a trailer so I can promote it, which is helpful. And I guess other than writing the rest of the book series, puts pressure on me because, as you know, I'm full-time as a real estate agent, which takes a lot of time. So I guess that anything to do, and I sort of got a little bit of a light bulb moment with Kim's background, because I feel that we may be able to do something that would help to promote more with books and with authors that are trying to get, where do they go the next step? The problem is you write the book and then what do? You don't want it to sit in a cupboard and not, I'm fortunate because of my network with RE/MAX that a lot of the people that's on Facebook, social media helps a lot because you're able to get the message out there. I had inquiries from South Africa, so that's good. I see an avenue there that maybe that's something.
Thanks, Carol.
You know.
So just to reiterate, you have heard from the Green Room a bit about Carol's background, and you've met briefly here at the studio, so you both talked a little bit about each other's background. Kim, what's happening next for you? Is there something imminent that you want to share with me? Just briefly. Or have you got it all together already?
Well, I don't think any entrepreneur ever has it all together, and
You
there's
just look
always
so
so
all
many
together.
ideas. I actually am going to be starting a podcast soon.
Okay.
And the podcast is going to be called The Authorpreneurs. It's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. And it's about building people in all aspects. So I would love to have you, Rosa, and you, Carol, on the podcast, because it's about the message that people want to share that helps others.
That's wonderful.
And I think for you, Carol, just every way that you can get your book out there, get your message out there, get on podcasts, get on interviews, whatever ways that you can. If somebody wants to do a Facebook Live with you, do those Facebook Lives, do those, get on LinkedIn videos. All of those ways, just get your name out there. And as your name gets out there, you create those connections that you need to find the people to take your vision to the next step.
It's wonderful. I think we should have lunch and discuss this further.
That's the idea. So let me share with you, I mean, you've already mentioned it, but let me share with you the synergies that I saw. Kim, you are an author, publisher. You've been doing so much in the last 8 years and already 50 books, and you've so organized and have this package together. When I met Carol and I heard that she's already written her first book and she's writing a series and has spoken briefly about even writing a book for consumers for real estate,
Yes.
in the real estate world, right? So with Carol wanting to publish and also belonging to a community of wannabe authors and established authors, and with your very simple done-for-you package, I thought if you merged your communities together, I could see huge affiliate referral bonuses happening, and I could see you expanding your networks together. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, brainstorming with people like yourself or like Kim is always helpful to people to be able to expand on their message and come up with an idea that they didn't even think about. Because once you write a book, it's true, you want to write, you feel that you've been released and you want to write other books about other things.
Right, and what about the marketing? I mean, the marketing of these books, we've talked briefly about how to find the right marketing. Can you see as possibly you two getting this going, starting a group to talk about the right marketing for these books?
Oh, of course. I mean, between Carol and I, we've got an amazing network between the two of us. And I think that as authors, that is the next step, is the marketing. How do you get that message out there? And so I do have lots of ideas that I get to share. And Carol and I are going to share some today.
Yeah, true.
But I think it's important to know that it's never a field of dreams when you become an author. It's not you write the book and everything falls into your lap. It's what you do with that book that matters. And that's
Very
why
good.
I'm writing the series of The Author to Authority, because you can't just write that book, you have to use the book. And so it's valuable to connect with people. And that's part of becoming that authority, is that network, that connection, the people that you meet. And it's not always direct business. Sometimes it's just the masterminding together.
That's a really strong point, Kim. So I'm so glad you're on it, because now I feel a little bit more confident about this moving forward. What I'd like to have you do is, would you be interested in following up with me, staying in touch? I will also follow up with you to see the progress of this partnership that you're going to embark on. Would you be willing to do that?
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And I'm glad that you two see some synergies together and that you're excited to start your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Rosa.
you. To you, the audience, I'd like to share a thought with you. You've heard from Jim Rohn before. They talk about the 5 people you hang around with have the greatest impact on your life. I'd like to ask you to ponder a moment on who are those 5 people and look at whether they are truly enriching your life and your circle of friends so that you can stay on your path, your journey, and your purpose, just like these two incredible people I've had on my show today. Thank you to the amazing sponsors and all of you watching today. We'll be back next week.